say hello to everyone and thank you for waiting so patiently. And welcome to Orange Web3's March AMA. Thank you all for being here. So whether you're tuning in live or catching up later, we appreciate you joining us. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rect. I'm the founder of Moomtown and more importantly, a brand ambassador for Orange Web3. So I'll be looking to host today's AMA. We're joined today obviously by Peel, the CMO at Orange, who's here to answer any questions that you guys have, as well as offer an insight really into what Orange is as a project. We've got some pre-submitted questions from across the community, so thank you to all involved there. We'll start with those first and then obviously move on to any questions that you guys have in chat or live on request. You were saying, Peel, you wanted to share a few words?
Yeah, just sort of a quick update. Obviously, it's, yeah, as you mentioned, I think it's been a bit over a month since we chatted last. There's been some good progress in that time. We've, as you've all seen, Orange Worlds is out, and we're starting to see projects and people come in and create with that and build on that, which is really exciting to see. We've also, during the month we ran a promotion with Turbo. A Turbo token game cross-community activity, which went quite well. Maybe not as much traffic as we would have liked, but it was received well by the Turbo community and just getting the Orange Web3 name out there. And we've also started some marketing activities. You may have seen some comments across Twitter and some shilling and some KOLs, and that'll ramp up over the coming weeks as well. So some exciting things that are happening now and on the horizon. We've also started our Exploring Orange Worlds blog series, which is really just about, to sort of help people understanding this new technology and how they can use it in different ways and get the most out of it. So there is an educational element as well. So we're starting the process of helping to start educate people about the tool. And then, obviously creating the different environments, the templates and things like that, so that people can come in and get set up easily. I think actually for Moomtown, you're using one of the templates from over on the Basetown site. So yeah, I think based on where we were a few months ago and where we are now, lots is happening, lots of sort of real engagement and traction with the platform, which is super exciting. And it's just the beginning. We think it's going to grow more from here.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think we'll probably end up touching on a lot of those points when answering some of the questions. Did you want me to go straight into some of the fixed questions? Are you happy for that?
Yeah. Let's just start. Happy to answer anything really.
There's a fair few, so I think we've got a good dozen or so. So I'll go into question one then, just straight off the bat. So Orange Web3 is already proving its strength as a legitimate L1. What's left to do before mainnet, and what challenges could impact the timeline?
There's kind of a couple of things. One is obviously we've always said we want to try and time the market around mainnet and go at the right time. We wouldn't want to go right in the middle of a bull, for instance, or right in the middle of a bear. So we're trying to time. So market's going to be very important, but we also need to make sure that we're ready. So there is a bit of work around things like security audits and nodes and things that we need to get right before we can go to mainnet. So that is in plan. And I see it still, as we've always said, we want to go live in 2025, but I think that's going to be more of a second half of 2025 thing. Our focus now is really on getting people in and playing with the tools and getting people, more knowledge of what Orange Web3 is doing and starting to build that engagement. And of course, that in turn should drive, more liquidity around Orange as well and the tokens, and sort of looking to build that good foundation while we're on testnet. So that's the current focus, but yes, things are still on track to go mainnet this year. But there's still a bit of work to do around, it's not the easiest thing. There's a lot of technical elements to it as well that are in the plan, and we'll work through those step by step.
Good stuff. The Validator program will obviously play a big role in network security. Do you have any updates on that, maybe including how staking will work, whether Juice and Orange will be required for that?
That was predominantly definitely Juice and Orange, and predominantly focused around Juice. We are definitely still doing that. It's taken a bit longer than we expected. We're really dependent on a third party that we're working with for that's building that capability. I believe there's some dependencies on some new AVEX tech, that Avalanche tech that's coming out. but it's still work in progress. It's just taking a bit longer to make that ready technically. But we are working with that partner as an ongoing project. It's just not coming together as fast as we'd like, but we keep pushing and doing what we can to expedite that and bring that along. More of the technical side around what will be involved in the tokens and the different staking and those types of things. We'll release obviously more specific information as we get close to launch. But yes, that's definitely going to be both Juice and Orange.
Okay. Moving on to more bounty board developer support and exposure. So I've got a question. There's a $100,000 bounty board that's been launched and already helped projects to kind of merge into the ecosystem. What kind of projects are you looking to further attract, and have any new developers or teams shown interest in that offering at all?
Yeah, it's been pretty good actually. We've had a steady stream of proposals come through, and we're just working through those and finding the people that we could work with and sort of getting those first bounties set up. As I think I mentioned in the last AMA, one of our first ones will be building a new lobby. So we've contacted those who have come for the reality architect's position, and we're sort of working through the details on who's going to be best placed to help us with that. Also, there's obviously things like the meme machine and hype czars, and we'll get a lot of applications for the content generation and marketing type activities. So anyone who applied for that will probably get a reach out from Kevin, and we'll start to look at who we can onboard there as well. I think one of the interesting things with the bounty board, you're going to see some changes to that board very soon, actually, maybe later this week, latest like early next week. So when we launched it, we wanted to keep it quite broad and just have sort of the key areas, the reality architects, the script shamans, the meme machines, those sort of key verticals, and allow and keep it open, allow people to come and say, hey, I can do this or I can do that. But we also have some specific tasks that we need completed on the network. So we're going to be adding a section at the top of the page called like hot bounties. And what that will be is specific jobs that we need done. So for instance, we could put a bounty out and say, we're offering X amount of orange tokens for somebody to come and build a new world for us, or a new template for us, or a new lobby, or, create XYZ memes. So we'll have those specific roles that people can essentially apply for. They'll be at the top. And then for things that are outside or beyond or bigger than those specific roles, people will still be able to, submit proposals in line with those sort of 5 key verticals. So that will be improving. And then we're also starting to promote as I mentioned, we're starting some sort of paid media. And so you'll see some shillings and coals that they'll be talking about bounties and that $100,000 as well. So we can start to get the word out there a bit. Our response has been pretty positive. We're seeing, it's not just like we got a big bunch at the start and none coming through. We're seeing, applications come through every day, every other day. So there seems to be a nice flow at the moment. We just want to build upon that.
I personally think that's a massive change. That hot bounties is going to be game changing, because for me personally, when someone sees $100,000, they kind of think, well, I'm just a little creator in, wherever they are. And but yeah, to have a hot bounty is amazing. And paid media, I'm sure everyone's ears twitched up on that one.
Yeah.
Going on to the next question then. So how does Orange Web3 support developers that are coming in beyond funding? So obviously you've got the funding element.
Yep. So the bounty, obviously there'll be some funding, and there'll be the grants. We'll do a grants program once we're ready as well. This one's an interesting one. So we've helped Basetown this week. So as an example of how we can help Basetown, that we've run the Zealy. You've seen the Zealy. If you look at the Zealy tasks, where a number of those Zealy tasks are directing traffic towards Basetown. And the idea for that was to test, Basetown's got airdrops. They've got an interesting reward mechanism over there. So it was to help drive some traffic and to, see how that traffic responded to the offering over on Basetown. We do need to be a little bit careful, because by us helping to promote or validate a project, if we're seen to be promoting it, we're kind of validating it and putting our stamp of approval on it. So, we need to keep that in mind, that the projects that we pick, correctly validated, so we don't end up in a situation where perhaps we were promoting a project that turns around and dumps on everyone or something. So we're going to be very careful, because we need to make sure that if we're telling our community that this is a good project, that we can back that up. But once we identify projects, that's part of us as a layer one to do, and that's going to be key for us, is I guess first is the offering of the funding opportunities through like the bounties and the grants, but then also providing exposure through things like, campaigns that we're running and promotion within the Orange community. And then, even, working with our different partners. As you all know, we've got a number of different partners we're working with, and, helping to encourage like collaborations between devs and new projects and other partners that we're working with, and maybe even utilizing tools and things like that. So yes, big part of what we intend to do, keeping in mind that we're not just going to like promote every project that comes on and builds on Orange, because there's some risk there. But projects that are doing really well, or that we can validate, or that we see potential in, and we can, we're confident that it's a real project, we'll definitely be helping those guys in those areas.
Yeah, nice.
I think it's still going to be important for projects to like market their own projects. But our team will help, the networking, the visibility, integrations, things like that.
Yeah, I think it was really, I noticed a massive uptick in this kind of Zealy, the Zealy guys coming in. And I think one of the Basetown tweets had sort of 3,500, whereas I think maybe 2 weeks ago that wouldn't have, even hit sort of in the hundreds. So yeah, it's noticeably different.
Yeah, so and we've had problems with Zealy before where, we don't. So we didn't, for instance, we've tried Zealy on Orange, and we've had things like, interaction and things. It just sends a lot of spam, right? So we're trying to use Zealy in a smart way, because it is an incentivized community. So they're only, doing what they need to do to be incentivized and to collect their cash, and grinding away to do that. But we felt that works with something like a Basetown, which is similar. You come in, you enter the rooms, you got a chance at an airdrop. So there was a match between those communities, and it was really an experiment to see if we could drive that traffic and then get uptake on the other side. Still to be seen what the results of that are. I mean, we're still in the middle of the campaign, but at the end of that, we'll analyze the results and tweak accordingly as we proceed.
Yeah, I think there was a few questions later on actually, but while we're on Zealy, just touching on a couple of questions, may as well cover it now. So Zealy quests have been running low for a while now, and we haven't seen any sort of major upticks in unique holders. How are you measuring the success? Because obviously, likes on Twitter, does that play into a bigger algorithm? Is there a bigger picture to all of that?
So early on, it was definitely about trying to get our numbers up and to make our socials look more active. But we found that probably didn't. That was more. It created more pain than it created value. So that's why we pulled back from doing those types of Zealys. And it's never been a. We don't believe Zealy is a channel to drive token holders and token sales. We're using other channels such as Coles to communicate that message and to try to talk to retail investors. On the Zealy side, it's really about driving an incentivized audience. And they're only it's a grinding audience, right? We need to be realistic around what it is, and it's people are willing to come and grind, but it's also a good way, like Basetown being a classic example, to try out something new, see what the reaction is, see what the engagement numbers are. So what we're looking at is things like conversion rates, click-through rates, how long are people staying on the platform, because we've driven that traffic there, and it's incentivized traffic, but also say on something like Basetown, they can get further rewards. So we're just trying to see how we get that cut through and get the audience interested in the proposition, and that's being judged on a number of like engagement metrics.
Yeah, be interesting to see how that plays out. Certainly from my sort of perspective. But moving on to the marketing, partnerships, and expansion. Then I know you touched on paid media earlier, and I think that would be a kind of interesting one to expand on now. So, what strategies are you kind of prioritizing? Are you looking at sort of major influencers, viral campaigns, more sort of high-profile partnerships? Should you care to elaborate on that point?
Yep. Yeah, so we are at the moment. We're doing, as I mentioned, there's a bit of like shilling going on. There's the KOLs. There's the Zealy campaign. The KOLs and the parts that you'll see there at the moment is a number of experiments that we're running, both with messaging and with marketing. You never just want to take your whole budget and just dump it on day one, because we got to iterate and find out what's working and what's not working, and it's a different market now and all these things. So you'll see it kind of ramp up, but right now we're running some experiments with some not necessarily tier ones, but more tier two calls. And that's continuing over the next 2-3 weeks. And we see calls as an important way to sort of get the message out about, hey, have you seen Orange Web3? They're doing some really cool stuff. It's a layer one. They're early in the project. Values are low. It's worth checking out. That sort of message, and that's a good one to come through through the calls, because they can be a bit more descriptive in their narrative. As I mentioned, the other campaigns are more around driving traffic and trying to get engagement with the platform. So and a different target audience. And then I think one of the main ones, we're very much remember, we're user-generated content, right? So we're very much of the opinion that we'd rather take any marketing budget and give it to the community to go out there and do, incentivize referrals or incentivize, like we've discussed with the bounties and, doing memes and marketing and these types of things. So we'd much rather have a sort of army of community out there doing it and getting paid for it than taking that budget and just pumping it into traditional media. So we're looking to sort of build that, and I think you mentioned virality. So that's sort of trying to build that virality and incentivizing that, like referral programs and things like that. And you'll see a lot more of that coming, particularly around Orange ID, where your Orange ID will sort of be your main referral engine, and then based on that, you can go and refer other people who come and get an Orange ID. So that community-based sort of virality is probably our core focus, but of course we can't just rely on that. We're also doing the necessary coal work and other things, more traditional kind of channels, and ramping those up as we get more data and find out what works and where we're getting the best traction.
Yeah, it lends itself nicely into kind of the next question, which is about Roblox. So obviously Roblox has got a huge engaged user base that on paper would align really well with Web3. When do you see the right time to sort of target those creators and maybe entice them to look at Orange as a potential platform to build on?
Yep. So we are looking at that. Not like Roblox may be one, but we're not sort of limiting ourselves to Roblox. We're looking at creator communities that already exist who are doing things like, these are interactive website or web spaces, as we've discussed. So there's other similar audiences like that. The technology, the Mozilla Hubs, for instance, is a community of people that are building things like this. You've got, even people, that maybe were previously building in things like the Vault. So we are looking to identify those communities and find ways to get access and to, market to them. Roblox is a great idea, but we've got to sort of work the angles of, how do you get into, how do I go and talk to all of the Roblox guys, right? So again, it's finding out where that community is. It's getting involved in their Discords and other types of things. And so it's a process, but yes, as a strategy, attracting communities to come in and start building is definitely part of our plan. Whether that'll be won't be specific to Roblox, it'll probably be other communities, and if we can find a way to get into Roblox, definitely. And that's, again, that may be something that we put back on the community as well to find ways, or people that have existing ins to those types of communities, and we can pay bounties and work together on that stuff too.
I was going to say, having a good sort of army or a good strong community that's willing to sort of probe into those areas will be massively beneficial, in my opinion. So the ecosystem is expanding with, obviously we've seen Juicetown, Basetown. I've got obviously myself at Moontown, and we've also got names such as Bedrock thrown in there. When can we expect Orange Web3 to sort of break into the mainstream crypto media channels? I know you were saying about layer or tier 2 KOLs. Are there kind of media channels that would potentially open for?
Definitely. I mean, you'll start. I mean, it's at the moment, I bet you there's a bunch of people out there that never heard of Orange Web3, right? So it's about getting the word out there. And we're, as I mentioned, cross-community, community-based incentivized, referral, and KOLs is our main channels there. We have explored things that you probably won't see a lot of, PR and things like that. It tends to be quite expensive and doesn't get the results. But those ones we believe will get the best return for the investment, and that's ultimately what it's about, right?
Yeah. So we touched on Turbo earlier. It was a major step in kind of validating almost part of the offering for Orange. What's next for Turbo in particular? Is there a sort of another phase for those guys, or is that just point proven
Oh, no. Well, so yeah, there will be more. So the next one that we're working on, we're actually, our partnership guys are out talking to a number of projects now. And the next one is we're trying to arrange in late April a like community versus community based game. So, with the Turbo, you would come in, play in the tournament, and then as an individual, if you got the best score, you would win the prize. What we're doing is more of a tribal competition. So we'll have 5 or 6 different projects will come in. And then when you come to enter into the tournament, you'll pick which tribe you represent. And then there'll be both an individual leaderboard, but then also a tribal leaderboard. So, there's a bit of that incentive to, you want your token near the top. So we're just working with a number of partners to bring on who will be the other projects that come on board there. And that's something that we're looking to do around the gaming, and to just create another element of, competitiveness and a bit of fun by having multiple projects, all competing together. And we are sort of talking to another couple of projects to come in and do what Turbo did and do individual, week or 2 week long campaigns. So that will continue. It's just getting the projects interested. And as you mentioned, Turbo was a great validator of that and gives us now a good case study that we can use when we have those discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. It probably links into this next question, but with over 50 partnerships, ongoing collaborations could be a major driver for awareness. Is there any sort of plans for more kind of joint campaigns to showcase some of those partners that are kind of linked with Orange?
Definitely. So, one, the 50, I think we need to review that number, because not all of them are still alive. We're going back and revalidating, because obviously some projects come and some projects go. So we need to relook at the list. But we are constantly talking with our partners about doing stuff. I can tell you that we have 2 things that came up just today. I won't mention the partners, but we have a AMA coming up end of this week, which is the partnership AMA. We'll be jumping in with one of our partners, and then another one in, I think, a couple of weeks. And then we've got some other partnerships. Like I mentioned, there's the one that we're going to our partners about coming in and getting involved in the tribal tournament. But also our other partners, approach us with different things to come and join their activities. So that's an ongoing thing, and you'll see more and more of that coming through as those opportunities become available.
Nice. It's exciting to be a part of that. So in terms of tokenomics and trading volume, then, so the Gitbook mentions 300 million Orange tokens will be in circulation by the end of 2025. How are these looking to be allocated? Is it kind of rewards for staking, or built into the kind of ecosystem, airdrops, incentives, that kind of thing?
Sort of all of the above. So if you look at the tokenomics plan, I think the staking rewards takes a significant share of the allocation, goes into the staking side. We also have like the ecosystem incentives, things like bounties and grants and liquidity incentives and things like that. So that's a big part of it. There will be some strategic airdrops to boost adoption. And then, of course, we have to think about liquidity pools and additional exchange listings and things like that. So I think they're sort of the main areas. But that's as per the tokenomics plan that's in the docs.
Yeah. So then how does that factor in terms of sort of token price? Is that something that's at the forefront for you guys at Orange? Obviously, low trading volume is a bit of a challenge, certainly at the moment, for a lot of projects. Do you see, what factors do you see holding back liquidity for both Orange and Juice, and what strategies can maybe used to increase that kind of trading activity?
Yeah, so there's a number of things that we're working on right now. I think part of it at the moment is just getting people to know about us. So at the moment, it's about awareness of the project, and that's why marketing and things like the calls that we mentioned. So I think getting awareness and then getting people in and using the tools and showing those usage metrics, I think that's going to go a long way, because then that starts to say people that, oh, these guys are onto something, they've got something cool, and that then naturally leads to more interest in the token and more retail investment. So the plan right now is sort of traction and engagement and awareness and that's, like I said, like we haven't done an active campaign to say, hey, come look at Orange and the cool stuff we're doing and buy our token. But those types of campaigns will start to come more and more. But the other thing is timing. we was going to launch the KOLs, I think it was last Monday, but then we pulled back because, what happened last week, and then things went good and then back. So, it's also, we don't want to throw money into a declining market, right? So we're trying to pick our timing as well and make sure that we can try and ride the wave. But it's been an interesting, pretty volatile, week or two.
Yeah, I think old Donald needs to make his mind up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And the last question is my question, actually. So GTA 6 is already being sort of touted as the biggest metaverse we've kind of seen. Obviously, they're going to say that. But obviously, we've got Minecraft the film out. I think that's launching next month. And that will obviously come into kind of mainstream media. How will Orange capitalize on that as a narrative, or do you even see it as a perceived narrative for the coming bull run?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's other stuff too. Metaverse has kind of always been a bit niche, but then you've got, obviously, Apple's got the headset. They haven't come and brought out a cheaper version yet, but they likely will, eventually. So you've got a few different things that, as we start to see, that it's a very nascent technology, and I think it's definitely now with things like, for instance, our ability to be able to share with the URL and open in any browser, it makes it way more accessible. And so, yes, we'll be trying to leverage off the back of any interest in the space or anything that gets a bit of a buzz going. We'll be looking to associate ourselves with that and be like, hey, we've already got this. And I think what makes it awesome is that we can quickly ramp up rooms. We can quickly, share those in a tweet. It's just a click and jump in. So the ease that we can sort of create these spaces and share them makes it easy for us to be a bit to be quick on these things, and then to get into like these guerrilla marketing type things, or try and get in the conversation that's not necessarily about us, but we can sort of capture some of that attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when this goes, it's just going to be a complete snowball effect, and it's just going to gain momentum very, very quickly. That's again just my opinion. I'm just looking in chats. I can't see any questions in there. I can't see any questions in there. So if anyone has got any questions, obviously just request to speak, and we can add you as a speaker. Maybe ask some questions directly. Can you see any questions at all? Maybe George or Moonchess? So many Moons in this this audience.
Yeah, I think I sent Moonchess a request to. I messed up with Moontown and Moonchess, so they can probably jump in.
Oh, don't do that. You'll end up with Waffle Central if both Moontown and Moonchess are on. Jeez. Okay, I can't see any. Oh, I just had something through. Okay, so I've had a question through. So is the team still going to launch the testnet stablecoin and swap feature so people can test before going live with mainnet?
Yes.
We've not had an update on this since December, I believe.
Yeah, it's the same as like with the nodes. It's kind of all part of the DEX type setup. So I know that DEX is different to nodes, but I'm just saying the technology and the partners we're working with are similar. So it's the same answer as the nodes. Yes, it's being worked on. We 100% want to do it. As I've mentioned previously, we don't build anything. We're an aggregator. So we are a little bit dependent on these third parties, but we're working through and looking to find solutions for that stuff so we can offer it sooner rather than later. There seems to be, and I'm not a full-on tech guy, but there's a lot of new technology coming out of Avalanche, and it seems some of these partners are waiting for some of that technology because it makes all of this a lot easier. So as soon as it can be technically done, we'll have it.
Nice. I've got an interesting story. My wife, who is not anti-crypto, but she hates anything to do with it, read something on Avalanche the other day, and all of a sudden became the expert and said, "Oh, we need to get some money in Avalanche." I was like, "Have you not been listening for the last year and a half or whatever?" But yeah, it seems to be some big things going on there. I don't think we've got any more questions in the chat. Certainly not in Discord. If anyone's got any questions in the X Spaces or Twitter Spaces, please raise your hand. If not, I guess unless there's any final thoughts from you, Bill.
No, I mean, as we have these more often, I think they're going to be, there's obviously less questions. There was a bunch when we hadn't had one for a while, but as we get, more often, it's similar things that we can discuss. But what I really want to do also is not just have, me in these ones and sort of answering these questions. Happy to do it. But also I want to start doing a series around, getting some creators in, for instance, and doing some, creator workshops and masterclasses around, building, and doing some AMAs around that, so creators can come in and ask questions and things. So definitely, I'm trying to get some builders that we can get some to, get involved, and you guys can ask questions of them. And then as we mentioned, the partnership AMAs as well. We have done a couple of those. I think we did one 2 weeks ago as well. So there's more of those coming through. And we always see a little bit of a bump when we talk with other communities as well. There's always an extra couple of wallet holders, and the more we do, the more we can build on that.
Yeah, I mean, just from a sort of Moontown point of view, I know as a creator, and I know that I'm just one of many that I know of. The tools are really, really easy to build, and I've actually built a almost like a TED Talks. I've called it Moon Talks, obviously. keeping with the brand, but it's a live space. So hopefully, when we do these in the future, the link that you click on to kind of join a Twitter Spaces will be a link that takes you straight into this live TED Talk. So that's something.
Well, let's do that for the next one, because we need to start dog fooding this stuff, right? So, we just put out a blog today that said exactly that. Come and use the spaces to do an AMA. So, we should be walking the talk. So maybe our next one we'll do it in your space.
Yeah, it's already built. It was the first thing it's the only thing I've built out at the moment, but it was the first thing that I'd built out because I thought the demand was there. And once we can prove that, then as I say, it's just going to all make sense to a lot of people. Because with that comes all the links. You can click the links and it will direct you straight into a YouTube site or someone's Twitter page or more information or whatever, and people get a gauge of what's actually being built. So yeah, definitely pencil that in for kind of April, and I'll make sure it's ready.
Nice.
Pressure.
That'd be awesome. Using some community content, community generated content for our AMAs would be ideal. That's right in line with what we're our vision, right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you're happy for me to close, I can't see any more questions in. Are you happy for me to close on that? Or you got any more?
Yep.
Any more?
All good.
Points?
If there's no more questions, we can leave it there.
Yeah, I'll close with a bit of a kind of script, just in thanking everyone really for attending and engaging with the conversation. We've had some really good sort of questions. I'd say keep an eye on everything that's happening in the Orange Web3 ecosystem, and as a brand ambassador, I get to kind of see the growth of this almost daily, and it's just going to start snowballing very, very quickly. Reminder of the $100,000 bounty. And the hot bounties, obviously, that are going to be coming out shortly as well. So if that is you, or you know of anyone that wants to be a part of that, then obviously links can be found on Discord and Twitter. And just ask anyone in chat. The whole point of being a community is that we help each other out. And yeah, finally, don't forget to follow Orange Web3 on socials. Stay updated and get involved, because this ecosystem is just going to get bigger and bigger. That's all from me. So unless you guys have got anything else, then enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. There's always a lull, isn't there, at the end?
Any other questions? Just chuck them on Discord. Happy to answer if you didn't get your questions answered today. Thanks, all.
We'll have to get a theme tune.